Page 5 now, the Islamic State and the war that's not a war. Clearly, IS is not being destroyed, maybe not even degraded. This is Jordan is vowing to do all it can to save its captured pilot. The aviator was captured by the Islamic State back in December, and Jordan is willing to exchange a terrorist for the pilot. However, here's the holdup. No official confirmation that he's still alive. Meantime, another hostage is apparently not alive anymore. His apparent execution revealed on another IS propaganda video. Joining me now, Daily Ledger Page 5 girl Stephanie Marie. And Stephanie, of course, we're talking about one of two, and now we believe they're both deceased, two Japanese hostages. This latest one, apparently, we say, beheaded.
Right. So the video released appeared to show the Islamic State executing the Japanese journalist Kenji Goto. And now the video came 2 days after the deadline set by IS. They were demanding a $200 million ransom for the two Japanese hostages. Now, Japan's government doesn't pay ransoms to hostage takers, just like the U.S. Now, meantime, former U.S. Defense Secretary Robert Gates is speaking out. He says Obama's plan to destroy IS is unrealistic. Now, the Islamic State is not slowing down, and the proof is in this video.
To the Japanese government, you, like your foolish allies in the satanic coalition, have yet to understand that we, by Allah's grace, are an Islamic caliphate with authority and power, an entire army thirsty for your blood. Abe, because of your reckless decision to take part in an unwinnable war, this knife will not only slaughter Kenji, but will also carry on and cause carnage wherever your people are found. So let the nightmare for Japan begin.
And I think that the president has set an ambitious and, I think, under current circumstances, unrealistic goal when he talks about our intent being to destroy ISIS. With the means that he has approved so far, I think that's an unattainable objective.
Now, Gates believes special forces will be needed in Iraq and Syria to assist with the airstrikes that are being conducted by the U.S. and its allies. And he says a re-invasion of Iraq with large ground forces is a false set of options. He says a few hundred troops should be stationed in the region. You know,
I keep saying on this program repeatedly, in order to defeat your enemy, you have to define who your enemy is. And this president won't even say who they are, and that's Islamic terrorists. You know, he uses some other kind of strange terminology, but he won't say Islamic terrorists. And that's one of the first things I think that Gates would tell you is that, hey, you have to be realistic in this, and realistic is not going into Syria, plucking out a few thousand warriors, if you will, moving them to Saudi Arabia, training them, and then bringing them back to the battlefield. That's not realistic.
Right. There's no clear strategy coming from the Obama administration, and the signals are, they're sending out mixed signals. So is the Islamic State the JV squad, or are they more serious? From what we know, it sounds like they're very serious. And like Gates said, airstrikes alone won't be enough. You know, and
pertaining to Japan, it's very sad because in their charter, they don't do war, and they can't participate in this by definition of their country and their constitution. So they're not participating directly in the war. They were just giving some sort of humanitarian aid. So it's a sad, sad situation.
Yeah, Japan is outraged, and they're very concerned. They're already taking action. They're going to boost security at their airports and also at any of their facilities abroad.
What else do you have on page 5?
Colleges restricting free speech. This time it's the University of Kentucky. Now, the student government there sent out a survey asking students how much they would like to restrict the First Amendment through free speech zones. Now, students could choose between a single designated free speech zone or multiple designated free speech zones in various locations across campus. Now, students also had the option of choosing no preference.
The message that this sends is that it's okay for students to have their constitutional right to free speech revoked and restricted by administrators' discretion. Students did say, you know, they didn't indicate that they wouldn't be opposed to having free speech zones on campus, and that is startling. I mean, it's astonishing to see that as a student, to see that my peers are embracing these restrictions on their free speech. And what does that really say about, the future of this generation if they're okay with having limitations placed on their rights and liberties on college campuses? How is that going to translate when they enter into the real world? This isn't just something that universities have been pushing. We heard this past summer that the United States Civil Rights Commissioner came out and said that college students aren't mature enough to handle free speech. And that is just incredibly insulting for a federal government, an official of the federal government, to suggest that students who are old enough to vote, old enough to serve in the military, and old enough to run for local political office aren't mature enough to exercise their own constitutional right. It's ridiculous.
Now, the survey was actually developed by the student government and was approved by a faculty advisor. Now, students who took the survey could win lower-level basketball tickets or $250 scholarships. Now, Campus Reform tells me they reached out to the university for comment, and so far they haven't heard back.
It's crazy. I mean, you think about it, a free speech zone is an oxymoron. You either have free speech and a First Amendment, or you don't.
Right, it's like a free speech cage. Now, universities should be encouraging students to use the First Amendment instead of shutting them down. And again, this is an alarming trend. We've seen this before. One university, the University of Hawaii, they stopped a student from handing out the U.S. Constitution.
Right. And, of course, you want to have decorum and you want to follow the rules on campus, but you do not want to stifle free speech, period. Thanks, Steph. Coming up next, the Keystone Pipeline, what it has in common with the U.S. Postal Service as the Daily Ledger continues.